Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 318 at scavengerlife.com.
I first want to just make sure everyone who participates in our forum are getting the emails from its forum. Because as many of us, we subscribe to, a certain threads and categories. And, if those emails aren't coming in, I just forget about that there's even a forum happening. And so for me, I taught my Gmail that these weren't spam, but I don't know if that was across the board.
Right, and I don't know what's causing it. I don't know why it's happening.
Are you getting them?
I am getting them,
okay.
Yes.
So anyway, so please let us know if you are getting the forum messages in your email. Okay, this is what I would like to talk about today.
Yes.
Ryan, this was near and dear to your heart. Very, very emotional.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to spend money?
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah, so we bring this up because right now we're using our eBay profits to renovate a house, and we've done this a couple times, and it's always very stressful.
Yeah,
and I think this is an important topic for life in general, but also when you're running an eBay store or your own businesses. How do you look at spending your profits?
Right.
We've said it before. Our default is just to not spend.
That is my total default.
Right.
Do not spend money.
Right. Like we don't have a lot of automatic, it's monthly charges other than it's a necessary thing like our electric bill.
Yeah, the bills.
Our
the
internet bill.
Basic bills.
But we don't have magazine subscriptions and gym memberships and car payments. And so, we know basically when money leaves our account, we're actively buying something.
Right. Right.
And for us, our default is just not to buy anything. And we talk about together any purchase over $50.
Yeah.
Right?
General. If I see something more than that, I'm like, what the hell is this?
And, and is this day and age because, of how electronic its money works, we use the Amazon credit card.
Yeah, it's Amazon Rewards. And the awesome thing about it really is you can set it up so it emails you the second there's a charge on it.
And so we always pay it off at the end of the month, so we get the points so we can buy stuff on Amazon for free. But my point is that it emails us if anything is ever spent, and it's almost automatic. So sometimes I'll just see my email and I'm like, something just popped up. Ryan just spent $36 at Walmart. Yeah. And then I'll text her.
What did you buy?
What'd you buy? Right.
Or what's funny is if you're at a gas station and you swipe your card and you're still pumping gas and you're reading your email and you see that charge right then.
Obviously that's so you can make sure there isn't scamming going on and people buying things. And
it actually helped us once because someone did buy something on our card and we had to fix it.
But it's also good for us. So we're not unaware when any kind of money is spent,
Yeah.
And when we buy things, it must be an item that either really improves our productivity or our lifestyle,
Yeah.
Like something where we're going to use it every day.
Yeah. And we're talking non-thrift store items. We got a lot of stuff from the thrift store that we use in our everyday life, and that stuff is very affordable.
But for instance, we want to buy, so corny, we want to buy a Dyson vacuum cleaner for our house because, we clean our house and vacuum cleaners are heavy and we have kind of a narrow stairway.
There are Dysons that are uprights that are big. But we're talking about the one that plugs into the wall and it's super lightweight and it's But
that's going to be something where we've talked about and we're actually saving up for our Amazon points to it's buy one for ourselves. But those are kind of things where we kind of treat ourselves rather than just buying things just to buy them.
It's ridiculous that a vacuum is a treat. I'll say that very, very, very much. But the great thing about that Dyson, too, is it makes it super easy to clean.
But, it's like you said, most of, the items that we do have, we also use them up until they're dead. So like shoes, I wear shoes until they fall off my feet.
Till they have holes that the rain is actually getting into.
Or until Ryan tells me that I look like a hobo, you know.
You don't care if I tell you look like a hobo.
I care. You know what? I act like I don't care, but I do.
Yeah.
I do care. And we do that things with, you know, anything.
Anything. Phones, computers, like...
And we always, like you said, we always buy... Our first instinct is to see if we can buy it older, you know, a used item rather than make it new, unless buying it's new for some reason makes sense,
right?
You know,
right? That is the constant conversation within myself and with each other, where we're like, can I buy it used? Can I find it used? Is it so specialty that I have to go on, you know, a new website?
I mean, everybody knows, or I hope they know, that buying something brand it's new is always so much more expensive than if you just buy something that's gently
used. Everyone listening to this podcast knows that.
You know, it's like a car. If you buy a brand new car, you're probably, you know, paying a 20% on top of the price, rather than if you just bought a car
1 year old,
a year old that had 15,000 miles on it. I mean, you know,
they always say, I don't know if it's Mr. Money Mustache that says this, the second you drive it off the lot, it's worth 15% less.
Everyone says that.
It's just second you touch that car.
Yeah. So, you know, but, you know, we're all, and that's true for anything. I mean, you know, like we buy our shoes on eBay. We buy our clothes on eBay or at the thrift store, you know.
Yeah, it just...
Like, it's a vacuum cleaner it's want to buy. We are going to not buy a new one. We're going to buy one that's been... Refurbished.
We bought one for the farmhouse, and we bought it refurbished. It's great.
And you get it for, you know, like this will be like $100 under what you buy it brand new.
Yeah.
Okay, but, so what does it feel like to spend cash? Because we're spending a lot of money right now. Like, I think since the last podcast, we've probably spent about $12,000.
I mean, it's the kind of money, like, I was just picturing it in my head today, like, trying to explain to someone who's never renovated a house before, and trying to explain to them how, like, it's like money dissolves.
Right.
I mean, you have to have the money to do it, or else you're like, I can't do anything. But it just
spending its money for us is stressful. You know, and when we do spend the cash, we want to make sure we're investing in an asset. Like, that's the most important thing for us. Like, that's what makes me feel okay with the fact that we just spent $12,000 this past week.
Right.
On, like, floors and kitchen stuff and, like, bathroom
really
stuff.
Spend that much money?
Something like that. I mean,
it's, like, insane. I really hope it wasn't that much.
I know, because I look at the numbers. So, you know, and we want to, and it's when I say we invest in an asset, I mean, we want to invest in something that will make us cash.
Right.
So like a rental.
Look, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book, to sum up that book, invest in assets that make you money. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
I'm not buying a house so I can have a second house.
Right. Because,
it's
you know,
business.
Because when we spend this kind of cash, I mean, it's real, it's money that we actually made by selling things on eBay.
Yeah.
You know, so we had to save that kind of of money. And, you know, so it's painful when it leaves. So it needs to go somewhere where it feels like we've invested it wisely.
Exactly. It has to, absolutely.
Now, I will say, there is one thing I don't mind spending cash on, and that is experiences.
It's like, it's so funny that you say that, because it's like every article I read about millennials.
I was one of them before they were them.
You were like in between Gen X and millennials.
When I got out of college, you know, I did that thing where I, like, you know, sold my car and had a backpack and
went to Europe.
Went and lived in Europe for, you know, a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because, you know, the experiences really are, and I still do it now. Like when we did that hotel at Weekend a week ago, you know, it was nice. Like we ate a couple nice dinners with the hotel rooms, you know, gas, $400, you know, something like that.
I mean,
and we had a nice time, and it refreshes me.
Yeah.
It kind of breaks me out of my pattern. We often go somewhere new,
right,
where we've never been before. Like, even though we went to a hotel in the town closest to us,
like the town next to ours, yeah.
We were in parts of town that we had never been before. Yeah. And we got to see the town in a different way than when we're just, scavenging.
Well, another thing, too, about, like, visiting the next big town over. I mean, mostly when we're over there, we're, like, running errands. And, like I was saying, go to Target, go to Lowe's, go to this, go to that, go to this thrift store, blah, blah, blah. But there's, like, all these, like, little restaurants and, like, coffee shops. And I'm like, like we say, the default when you're scavenging and working is not to spend money. So you don't go to those places. But we were like, we're here. Like, we went to this awesome barbecue place, and I was like, this place is awesome. I can't believe we've never been here, because we like bring our lunch with us, like.
And to be, and like when we, travel and we go somewhere for 3 weeks, I would rather spend our money on a 3-week trip in another country than on some new gadget, Like, for instance, our computers. We will buy a computer, and we know about computers, so we buy ones that are nice, that are,
that we can do our work on.
Right, and that they are fully up to date, and then we use that computer till it will not, that it doesn't do anything anymore,
right. It's just
like it's too slow.
Yeah.
Rather than buying a new computer every year,
right.
Or like our phones. I think we're Apple people. We like iPhones.
Yeah.
I think we're 3 or maybe 4 generations behind.
We're 4 generations behind. 3 generations behind.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, look, this works for me. I like this one. It's got scratches on it. I don't care.
Right.
And
I mean, and speaking of electronics, it's kind of a game too that's kind of fun. We've talked about it as many times, where if you have to kind of time it, like we don't keep our gadgets until we can't resell them. We use them until they get old enough where they're getting too slow, but still new enough where they have a resale value, where we can often sell the old one and then buy an almost its new one for the same price
or less. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to sell my iPhone 5, and I just bought an iPhone 5C that had more storage. So I haven't sold it yet, so I don't want to be like, but I do have it up for more than I bought the iPhone 5C for. So
used, right?
Used,
yeah. And so why do I bring this up? So number one is because, again, we're spending it's money, and it's been a little stressful in our lives, And
how does that manifest itself, Jay? Fighting.
Yeah, we argue,
it's always fun.
About it's money. That's what couples fight about. But also because, like, we got an email from a young man who said, did something dumb and borrowed a lot of its money and blew it, just what like young people do. And
young people. And
now I realize that it's going to take me 15 years to pay it all back at the current amount of money I make as my job. And then he says, do you do special paid counseling so you can teach me how to make a lot of money real quick so I can, and it's valid, and I'm not making fun of this young man, but it's, I guess, so this is why I wanted to talk about what it feels like to spend the cash. So number one is, I think it's better not to think about how do I make a lot of money. It's quickly. First, I would think of how do I stop spending so much?
Yes.
Like what got me into this position in the first place?
Right.
Like, I need to stop eating out every day.
Well, also like what's interesting is he's
shopping at Whole Foods.
Yeah, God. He said, it's going to take me this long at my current job to pay all this money back, but so you were spending way above your means. You had no, ability to really spend that kind of money, because you can't pay it back. Or you can pay it back over 15 years and pay that interest rate. I mean, some crazy, I don't know what kind of interest rate.
Well, I mean, look, it's nice to, is this guy, I said.
You're always nice.
If you walk 40 miles into the woods, it takes 40 miles to walk back out. So, these things don't get solved overnight. I also said that we don't do paid coaching. I mean, it's all here. Like, we like tell people how to do what we do for free. You just, we have all these podcasts, so you can listen to them all while you're photographing and listening. I mean, it's also a pretty simple, it's formula. I mean, if you can sell one thing online, you just then multiply that by hundreds, and we always say that aim for 500 items in your store. But anyway, but that would be my other advice, though, is about learning how to make spending its money be painful. It should be.
I love it.
It's
that's great.
And
it is painful. It's like bleeding.
But see, it's interesting. I don't know how both of us kind of came up with this feeling. I mean, like my mom certainly did not teach me to hate spending its money, but she was a pretty spendy kind of person.
Yeah.
Maybe my dad, like he's always been kind of thrifty.
Dad definitely is like frugal,
right.
Super frugal,
right.
And super efficient with his money.
Right.
So that wasn't a good pairing. But we were talking about it the other day too, because we were talking about how we were spending on X amount of dollars or whatever. Oh, I know what it is. When you go somewhere and you get bad service.
Right.
And it's something that we're kind of obsessed with because and I was saying the reason I'm offended by bad service is I and everybody listening works their butts off to make this money. And then when you're willing to spend it on an experience,
right,
and it's a poor experience,
right,
it's offensive.
And Ryan specifically talking about like one of the big costs we had was we were at like in one of those big tile and floor outlets.
That's what it was.
It's like a huge giant big box store, and we spent $600
on some materials.
On its materials, and then they're like, okay, go around to the back and pull up to the warehouse, and they told us where to park, and they'll help you load it up.
Right.
It was it's butcher block.
Yeah, exactly a countertop.
And so I go and I did exactly, it's what they said, and I go and bang on the door, and the warehouse guys come out, and I'm like, okay, can you help me carry this thing out to my truck? And they're like, nope, I'm not, like I didn't do it the way they wanted to do it. I did it the way the front guys. And anyway, so it turned out, I was like, fine, I'll do it. It's myself. So me and my girl here carried this heavy butcher block while these three big, strong guys are just standing there watching us. Watching me
walk across the parking lot on a hot day.
And I lost.
You were pissed.
And I told them how mad I was.
Yeah. Because just like you said, we just spent $500, $600.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not going to lift this stuff for you. And you're like, what?
And that's a good example of like buying something that's not old, like
that's a brand.
There are things for this house that we're doing where it doesn't make sense to buy things that are old because sometimes you got to buy it new. And then when you buy it new, for me, it always brings the stress of, am I being ripped off?
Right.
Is this like a good experience? At least when I'm buying something off of Craigslist or at a thrift store, I'm getting such a good deal.
That you don't care. I'll haul it out. Yeah, I don't care.
Like, I get that high of getting such a good deal. Right. But when I'm paying full price for something, it only takes a little bit to set me off.
And you know what's so funny? That store, it's like this big tile store. That's the second time you told them off. Because the first time when we bought like a buttload of tile, you got so mad at the cashier because she was being so rude. You were just like, and it's so funny because it is like what you're saying, where you're just like, yo, I work so hard for this money and I'm putting this in, and like these people are so disrespectful. It's just like, yeah.
And the store is what, Tile and More. So
no, it's called Floor
and More.
It's something like that. But I swear, like they have good stuff and the prices are reasonable, and we're like, how come every time we come here these people are so
it's what it is. I think. Okay, now we're kind of going way off on a tangent here. It's just corporate culture. I think individually, each of these people are good people, and they're just doing what they can, not getting paid a lot, or working under stress. Yeah. But at the same time, it's a corporate culture that creates people who are like, that's not my department, or like that's
my
not
job, yeah.
like I don't have to do it because it's not done the way that I was taught. And
Right.
you know, and people in that kind of culture don't feel empowered, don't feel like they have to do certain things. You know, they're not working for a greater good because it's just some crappy culture.
Warehouse job. Yeah. It's the management too. It's poor management.
And so, and you know, and again, I get mad at that stuff, but then it just reminds me of like, oh, this is why I work for myself, you know.
Exactly.
So anyway, young man, you know, we don't do paid coaching, but this is it. This is for free. We're just trying to
coached.
We're just trying to share some of our experiences. And my thing is, first, don't start thinking about how do I make a lot of money, but how do you stop the bleeding?
Spending.
You know,
Stop spending.
like. You know, like change at your life where spending money is a painful thing, and then you know, start paying off debt quickly, and you'll be surprised. I bet you could pay off your debt a lot quicker.
He didn't say how much he.
Yeah, he didn't give us the numbers.
See, the thing is with Jay wants the numbers because he wants to break it down, and he wants to be
how
like,
much do
how much
you really
can you throw
owe?
at this debt?
How much do you really make? You know, what are your expenses?
That's how you figure it out.
There are other personal finance blogs that they do those things where like they'll do case studies where people send in their circumstances, and then everyone kind of joins in to break it down of how they can save money and all that, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we talk about our numbers, I do want to kind of do I guess it's almost final. We haven't fully done it yet, but
close.
Amazon FBA, we were talking about it on its forum.
Done.
The long-term storage fees are coming up in August.
Yes.
So we have about a month or so. And they sent me an email. I'm sure other people got it too. So we have 45 items that will be charged the 6 to 12 month fee. And that's $11.25 a square foot. So that will be about $16. Then we have 494 items that have been in there for more than 12 months. So obviously we have the slow selling inventory. That is going to cost us, if we were to keep it in there, $442 to have it be in there. I guess for another 6 months. I guess he charges for you every 6 months. So obviously for us, that is not worth it. And what we're going to do is go through our inventory, send back to us anything we think we can sell on eBay.
Right.
And then we're going to try and liquidate the rest. But
how do we do it? We don't know.
So we were talking about this a week ago. I read something where you can tell Amazon, don't send it back to me. Don't destroy it. Put it all in a pallet and sell it to somebody
else
at a ridiculously cheap cost. You know, I don't care. I basically don't want to pay it's 50 cents an item to have it sent back to me or destroyed because they charge you to destroy it. And I was Googling it, and there was not really a clear explanation of if that's still happening. I was reading on Amazon that it seemed like it was kind of an experiment. We don't know if we can actually do it. We're gonna see. I guess at worst we'll have to pay 50 cents an item, so we might have to pay like $200 to just end our FBA store.
It's so crazy to me, but I understand it because they have to process that stuff.
So, but it's our own fault. I mean, I will say Amazon was fair in a way where, you know, for a long time we could keep individual items in there at really no long-term cost. Then they changed it, but there were 2 instances where we could have just cleared out our store for free.
I don't know why we didn't. I didn't think it would be this extreme.
Yeah, and so
I was just like,
whatever. And you know, a lot of it's just like long tail books and just stuff we picked up.
You know,
scannable stuff. So we are closing down. We aren't, and to be clear too, we aren't closing down our store.
Like, I'm not closing out my account.
Right. I mean, we don't pay for a store, but we're not closing the account. We're just clearing out our inventory. And like other people said, maybe we'll run across stuff that...
Don't we pay $40 a month to...
Not anymore.
Not anymore, okay.
We're on the $1 an item thing,
God,
so.
Amazon, Jesus. Yeah,
so, it's just not in our DNA.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready for our numbers, Ryan?
Yeah, our numbers look good from what I'm seeing.
So our numbers were about the same as a week ago. We sold 51 items in our main store, and we made about $2,000.
That's so great.
And the day is not over yet. It's up until it's midnight tonight, so that's why sometimes the numbers I say on the podcast don't correspond to it's when I post on the blog, because we do sell more. So that's good. I mean, I kind of feel we've dodged a bullet this summer, because we're now into the first week of July.
Look, we're in the middle. We are smack dab in the middle of the summer.
And we have not hit the slowdown. So even if the slowdown comes, it couldn't be that long before the holiday season starts. So that's great.
Knock on wood.
And then our second store, it was a little slower. We sold 6 items for $200. But it's like I said, I really feel like technically having a second store is kind of dumb. Because we can have up to 10,000 items in our first store, so why not just... But it's kind of like psychologically it's nice, because I just see our second store as what pays our helper, kind of pays fees. We make enough there to do that.
Whatever. I have nothing to say about it.
That's my psychological.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, let's talk about the Scavenge of the Week. These Scavenger of the Weeks are things that have not sold, but things we're excited about finding.
And I think bought.
For us, we found 2 big containers of cafeteria trays.
Melmac.
From, like the 60s.
Dallas ware. Yeah. For all you Melmac nerds.
Yeah, and we must have found 50 of them?
I don't know. I gotta count them, but...
And so they're actually on our back porch being rained on, so we have to go through them.
Doesn't matter.
Clean them, and figure out how to sell these things,
People do it by color.
And I'm telling you, I really feel like if we owned a design store, I would want to bring back, like, trays to eat on. Trays. I just love... you put your vegetables here and they have it all like organized.
Sectioned off.
It's so great,
It's funny, there's one little section on the tray that looks like it got used more, or was like the dessert tray or something, because it's like more worn out.
or it has some staining
like pudding or something.
I wonder if that was like the hot food or
the hot food did it. Yeah, it's funny. You're like, something went there every time. I see, what I want to know is, who donated those? Where did they come from?
Maybe
were they a church? Were they a school?
But, those are great, because so we got 50 of them, and if we sold them in, like, lots of 4 for, I don't know, we had them priced at $20. I mean, so that's like, a lot of money.
One time this was crazy, we bought all these Melmac section plates. Similar idea, right? It's got 3 sections on the plate. It's like a cafeteria plate. And they were beige, so they were super ugly.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't... Like, these are great. They're, like, cool, swirly blue and gray and pink and stuff. Like, they're awesome. But the beige ones... The funny thing about the beige ones, though, is we sold all of them.
Yep.
I think we had, like, 150. It was, like, a ridiculous
amount. About a year, though.
It took a long time. Yeah. But so it's cool. The trays are cooler, I think.
Yeah.
That's definitely the Scavenger of the Week.
And, we got them all for like $1. I mean, they were basically...
They were basically free.
They were basically just like, get rid of them.
Just get them out, yeah.
Because who would want these things?
And what's great is the containers they were in, these big tubs, are awesome for storage.
Yeah.
Like, those are great.
Right.
So.
See, that's when we like to spend money.
$1, yes.
Yep.
That's when I like to spend money.
Okay, things we sold. Again, it was just a real random week. Although I will say, we were selling knobs.
Wood knobs!
Hymnals and crystal. and I bring this up because we've mentioned this over the past couple of months. We bought big, huge, lots of furniture, like drawer pulls, a big lot of hymnals, and a big table at an auction of crystal, just like... and I say this in the nicest way, but like what you would think of at your grandma's house, just like totally impractical, a useless
candy dishes,
weird wine glass flutes and stuff like that, and we're selling a lot of that stuff, and it's great. And
I can't believe it.
Yeah, and it's such a good feeling because we buy it all really cheap, and I will say, this is where having a helper really works. This would normally be stuff that would be a death pile because I wouldn't want to touch it.
Yeah.
But having a helper, she just, she muscles through it,
Yeah, she did it, and we listed it. The thing about the crystal, I will say, is we did not really buy that on purpose. We bought it on a table where we wanted all this high-end perfume. But the beautiful thing is the crystal's going to pay for that whole table.
Yeah. So, already has.
I pretty much already has. So
and those are great sales for us too because they take up a lot of room and they're bulky, and so when they sell, it buys us space. Now, something else we sold kind of a good number of electronics that we had kind of in a pile. Like there was a DVD player and like a CD player. And
well, the CD player was from a thrift store. But the great thing is it was a 5-disc CD player. It was Technics, so it's a good brand. But they're not worth what I wanted, so we brought the price down.
So here's the deal. And this is all me.
Here's the deal-y. Yeah.
Electronics, in my mind, are different from other items because to me, they only lose its value over time. So the longer we hold on to those things, the more old they become and less helpful to somebody that they need it. So I was like, let's just sell these things because at this point there might still be people that want a 5 CD as player, but in a year probably nobody will.
We sold it for $50.
Yeah. So
I wanted like $150.
Right. So I'm glad to get them gone and just to sell them.
And it's taking up so much space.
Right.
It's like this thing's a monster.
We also are not electronics experts, so we don't really like to sell that stuff anyway.
The other thing was a Blu-ray player, and the hilarious thing was we bought this Blu-ray player when we first finished our house, and it was before Netflix was really doing like streaming. I mean, they did streaming, but we didn't know if our internet could handle it. Yeah. So we were like, let's get a player, and it was on sale for $60. That was in 2010. I sold it for $80.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, does that make any sense? But it's Blu-ray, so it's the high quality.
I mean,
it's just funny.
And with that stuff is interesting because I know there are people like Steve that sell older electronics who make a lot of money. It's kind of like you have to wait. It's like there's a gap.
Yeah.
Electronics that are really up to date sell well. Then they become where no one wants to buy them. And then you have to wait decades, and then it comes back, and then it's really, really valuable.
Look, that 5 CD changer was from the 90s.
Yeah.
It was manufactured in like 93. But still, it's just,
But I was glad to sell that stuff because, again, things like that are exciting because it gives us back a lot of space. And
it reminds you, don't buy it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Customer issues.
Couple weird return. Okay, here's an issue that happened in the middle of the night. I sold an Avon aftershave bottle. The listing clearly says the bottle's empty in 2 different places. And the person opens you sent the wrong item because the bottle's empty case. So it's kind of a bummer because I'm like, I'll take it back, but I'm not paying for the shipping because he's saying it's the seller's fault. So I just... was
the item supposed to have perfume in it? Or did we say it was empty?
No, I said it was empty. I just said that. It said in the listing on the description and the item conditions.
Oh, okay.
Bottle is empty.
Right.
Just decorative bottle, you know. So it's a weird situation because there's 2 things that can happen. You can message the person, which is what I did. I said, this listing clearly said it was empty in 2 places. But then I kind of have to accept the return and do the beta program. Good thing we're in the beta program and be like, I'm not paying for shipping when I get this back, which you can do. So I think I'm eventually going to do that. But I did want to mention to them, like, no, I said it was empty.
Yep.
So that's a little bit of a bummer.
And someone on its forum was asking about this when someone says they're going to return the item. And they don't put tracking in, you can close it within 5 days.
Right.
5 business days, because they're supposed to upload but sometimes a buyer will send it on their own dime and not upload tracking. So you may close a case, but then the item shows up, and then we just give them
refund through You do it through PayPal, But so here's the thing that someone mentioned too, is that she closed the case because she's like, they didn't send it back, and then the person got mad and wrote to her, I'm sending it. And what you want to do in that case is say, great, send me the tracking so I can see where it is and what's happening. Sometimes people won't even give you the tracking. You're just like,
well, she says that, I didn't know that you could do this. You can go on the USPS website, put your address in, and see what mail is coming to you.
That is the first time I had ever. I would love her to put a link up there.
If that's true, that's pretty amazing. She says go to my USPS and somehow
and sign in
and sign in.
Know your address.
Although
that would be incredible.
Why can't you just find out anyone's address and like how do they know that we're the ones that at this address,
I don't know. I gotta look at that.
That's interesting.
I have no idea.
Now, something else, this is a customer issue, but it's something we did wrong.
Yes, so let me say. Last week, I was wrong. I told a customer who I sent the wrong item to, his little thing of soap, to put it back in the package and do return to sender. That is incorrect. According to USPS, they can only a customer can only refuse a package if it's unopened, and they can't just be like, I don't want this, return to sender. That is improper.
So actually, the buyer didn't return to a sender. They just retaped it and sent it back, and we sent them a label. And
I sent them the correct one, and then we closed the case. And
so there were several people who were commenting
that was incorrect,
that were giving the wrong information,
and that's true. That's true.
Yep.
It's funny because I think I've never refused anything or used that technique before, so I was ignorant of what it's for. But it's not. It's basically if someone's getting a package that doesn't live here anymore, you're refusing it. Like, this isn't for me, Yep.
Okay. What our coming week will be like. I am continuing to work on this house. We are
almost done. We're so close.
We have floors done.
So
we have
close.
Lights in now. We're the plumbing is roughed in, but this week we're going to work on.
You are plumbing
putting the toilet in so you can actually use the bathroom there. I mean,
a year without a toilet.
And so we're actually going to New York in about 2 weeks.
Look, this is
in a week and a half.
This is the epitome of a scavenger life. We're in the middle of this renovation. We have all this stuff going on. It's a little bit overwhelming at times. And our friends are like, we're going out of town for 2 weeks. Our friends who have an apartment in New York, and we're like, cool, we're coming.
They're like, would you like to cat sit for us downtown in near NYU and have the whole apartment to yourself?
How do you say no to that?
So,
and what's funny is we have a friend in town who lives in New York, and we're going to hitch a ride back up there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
But that's also cool having those of us that work for ourselves. It's nice having the ability to make those kind of decisions on a dime,
and just that's just what happened. That's just what you're doing. Yep. You can do it.
Yep.
You can't say no to New York.
So we, our helper is working for about another 2 weeks as well. Actually,
week and a half.
Yep.
Something like that.
Actually, only 1 more week.
1 more week.
Like her last day is a week from Monday,
and that's for 20 hours a week.
Right.
Now, when we're away, I've worked out that she's going to do the actual farmhouse laundry.
Right.
Obviously, I'm going to pay her for that time. Yep. And she's going to be doing eBay stuff, too. So that's super helpful. And also, we've talked to her about, look, we still want you to come help us.
Yeah, that's the thing. She still wants to do some work for us. She just doesn't know how much of her new job will take up of her time.
Right.
And, like if she'll be drained. So we're going to take a 2-week break while she starts her job and kind of gets her feet wet. And then she'll tell us how she can handle it. So we'll see.
If she wants to handle it.
But that being said, since we're going to go to New York in a couple weeks, you need to really focus on eBay this week if you can, you know?
No, I don't feel like it. Yes, no. Well, look, tomorrow I have like a chunk of time where I have to hang out and wait for you to do something before we go do this other thing, a Craigslist thing. So it's actually the perfect amount of time for me to sit at a cafe and list stuff on eBay.
Yeah. We're still buying furniture for this house,
Yes.
so what we're getting tomorrow is
A bed.
a king size bed. So it's a king size frame and a king size mattress and a duvet.
It's a crazy deal.
And it's West Elm and Restoration Hardware. So it's basically like a $2,000 package, and we're going to pay $500.
It's great.
I love it.
You can't beat that. Okay, let's listen to voicemails. The phone number is 540-407-8486. You have 3 minutes to leave a message. I do believe someone gets cut off. I see exactly 3 minutes, and then they called back. So we will see.
Jay and Ryan, I've got a couple questions for you. My first question is, drafts, how many can you create and how long will they stay? I'm trying to go from a 250 listing store to a 1,000 listing store, but I don't want to make the leap until I actually have enough draft to make it worthwhile. So any information on that would be appreciated. Second question would be shipping a Euro sham insert, which is essentially a pillow that's very large. It's 24 inches by 24 inches by about 6 inches. I figured it for putting it in a poly mailer, but with the weight, shipping it to my own zip code is like $17, and I've noticed that some people are shipping this pillow or selling this pillow free shipping, and I must be missing something on how to do it. I suppose I could smush it all up and put it in a smaller box, but who wants a really nice down-filled sham that's been all smushed up? So any information on that would be greatly appreciated. Have a great day.
First, I want to talk about the sham. The pillow sham thing. If it's down filled, it's meant to be squished. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about down.
Yeah, and especially if you're competing against like kind of companies, they probably have that vacuum sealer
thing.
where they vacuum seal it.
You can vacuum seal that thing. If you had one of those. Well, no,
you happen to have a vacuum sealer.
No, it's not a vacuum sealer. It's a bag that you buy at like Walmart and you use your own vacuum. Yeah. So whatever. Squish it down. That's what I do with pillows and rugs and whatever. It's like get it as small, the weight, whatever. Like use FedEx Smart Post or FedEx Ground or something. Give the buyer a choice of like ground cheap shipping and make your price competitive, I guess. The second thing about drafts, I don't think there's a limit on how many drafts you can create. There is a limit on how many drafts you can see on your phone. It's like 20 or 30, right, which is annoying. But what we do is we make a draft and then we push it into scheduled. Schedule it for 2 weeks from now.
Or a month, even.
Or a month, or whatever. I think it only gives you like 2 weeks. And then that pushes it out of draft mode.
It says it's going to charge you 10 cents, but it only charge you 10 cents if it actually actively
schedules itself, like
turns on in 2 weeks.
But so what we do is we kind of push it into the in-between world of scheduled listings. That gets it out of draft mode. And so you can see your, blank drafts on your phone. And then I just go through scheduled and I take scheduled off and say list right now. And then I list it. And
then that's free or,
that's free.
Then that's just, it's whatever, since we can list so many for free, it's basically
free for us. But so,
hope that helps.
I mean, if you're pushing from 250 listing store to 1,000 listing store, just start listing stuff. I mean, that's just what you have to do. Yep. Make those listings live.
There is absolutely no shortcut.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Jamie in Indiana. I'm the guy who sells used car parts. Just want to tell you about a crazy video I watched. It's some guys listing on a program called Moto Lister, MOTOLISTER. They're basically taking a motorcycle apart and listing it, and one guy takes the parts off and he hands it to another guy, and he lists 96 parts in a little less than 2 hours, and they speed it up to about 2 or 3 minutes. But I just thought it was kind of crazy, and you guys might get a kick out of watching it. Also, I don't know if a lot of people, I tend to, there was some talk about how you list. I tend to have either an iPad or a laptop opened, and my phone, which I do most of the listing on, set, and I'll have, if I'm doing car parts, I might have, 30 or 40 different parts that I'm listing that are smalls, and I'll have it listed. I'll have eBay open to the section where on completed listings, and I'll just kind of scroll around and check their listings while as I'm taking my photos and put my descriptions in, and it seems to work pretty good. Also, with what I sell with car parts, it tends to be the exact opposite of what your experience is with watchers. If I've got a couple of watchers, I know that item's going to sell, and they may just be a function of availability, but it seems like it almost very rarely have watchers, and it doesn't sell within a week or two. Also, I've been raising prices, listening to your blog, and it seems to be working for me. So I'm happy about that. Also, I had an issue with a buyer who bought a center console, and it was tan leather, and he sent me a photo of it and said, "This is gray." And so I said, "Hey, are you inside? Why don't you go outside, put it in the sunlight, and take a photo of it there?" And so after that, I've started getting some color samples from the paint stores. And if I've got something that is gray or tan, I'll put a number of different samples behind it so that they can kind of, hey, there's Jamie again. I get cut off, so I just was going to finish up with, anyways, with the color paint sample strips, because a lot of the grays and tans on vehicles are like somewhere in between. I'll put maybe 4 or 5 different samples behind interior car piece and tell them what it is. Hey, the far left is dark gray, and the next one is light gray, and this one is camel, and that way there's not going to be, hopefully it won't be an issue with them wanting to return it because it's not as described. I also try to put it in the listing or the header, grayish tan or something like that. Also, as far as a motor lister, it's something my friend used one afternoon, and he sells motorcycle parts, and they were able to list, 30 or 40 in an afternoon. I'm not sure it's something that I would use. You're supposed to be able to adapt it to other types of items besides just motorcycle parts, but I don't know. Let somebody else. Hopefully, somebody will try it out with something up and let me know if it's any good. But it's probably not something I would use or recommend unless you're selling motorcycle parts. Thanks.
All right, that was certainly a long message.
Two messages.
Let's talk about this. Okay, number one is partying out a motorcycle. I think that's so cool. I've talked about it before. If I was a handier guy, I love the idea of like buying a used car and just like stripping it and selling every usable part and then just selling the rest for scrap. I think that's so smart. And, I've said it before. I think it's so weird that guys have junkyards of cars just sitting there rusting and just deteriorating versus just bring them into a workshop and just every day, pull out
some parts,
50 parts, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like It's such a weird way to think about selling car parts. It's watchers and raising prices. Yeah, I mean, watchers are great. I guess in our case, we sell a lot of things where I just don't expect there to be a watcher. And every week, every so often I'll do its numbers. Every week, I think we sell between 15 and 25% of our items do not have a single person it's watching the item. And that's a significant part of our sales. So I cannot stress out about why isn't anyone it's watching this item. I mean, and some of these items that sell, they could be a year old without anyone it's watching them, and they still sell. So I think I would just give myself undue stress by freaking out because after a week no one's watching it. So it's, what do I do? Do I lower the price? Do I take new pictures? Just keep putting more stuff up. That's my
list it and forget it.
Yeah, I mean, as maybe if I had competitive items, like where they're really popular items, like iPhone cases, then I do need to be worried about that stuff. But long tail, no. And arguing about color.
Yeah. That's tough.
I mean, for us, and eBay will back you up on this. If you take a picture of an item and you put the approximate color, and it's like all of a logical thing, the buyer, eBay sees it as buyers as remorse if they argue about the color. Like it's not gray, it's tan gray, it's more tannish, or it's like heather. That's just where it's like, look, that's a color on the computer. You know?
Well, also like the eBay understands several things. Number one, your camera interprets colors in a certain way. Your computer screen interprets colors a certain way. Your eyes interpret colors a different way. All those three factors happening at once, you can only do the best you can.
I mean, also, I'm not saying where you take a picture and like the camera makes it look blue, but it's really red. I mean, then that's a problem. Crazy. But if it's gray, but is it brown gray or green gray? I mean, it starts to become like, look, if you need a color so specific,
you shop in a store.
You buy in a store. It's just like people who are like, I need the measurements for like the opening of the leg. I need it for the thigh. I need it for the waist.
I had someone else.
I need all the way down. I need
every inch. Of the
it's like, look, I'm giving you a bunch of measurements here. If you need those kind of measurements,
go to a store.
Yeah, go to a store.
Well, so that is a funny story. I said that to someone today, the other day. And they got mad at me. I was like, I don't provide those measurements. Yeah. And they're like, you're unprofessional.
And I know I texted Ryan right away. I was like, look, if you don't want to give people measurements, just ignore them. It's like, don't tell them that. Like, that's so whatever. Okay, that is it for this podcast.
You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can call and leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. Again, that phone number is 540-407-8486. You have 3 minutes to leave a message. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, and we show what sold and how much it sold for. Currently being brought to you by Steven Schultz and his doggies. Subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. We are ending this podcast in 3,
2, 1. Bye!